Hey everybody, Brandon Vaughn here with Conquer, as well as Mr. Michael Hinderliter, the
Yeah.
king of Power Wash. I'm really excited to be here with Michael. Honestly, we got together. We said, hey, a lot of business owners are struggling right now. A
Yep.
lot of business owners are scared, anxious,
Hmm.
fearful about what's going on with COVID-19. And I wanted to get an opportunity to sit down with other service business owners, but also leaders in the industry. And some of you guys may or may not know this, but Michael owns several multi-million dollar businesses serving this industry, including two service businesses in
Yeah.
the cleaning space that are large, they're automated, and they are also being impacted by COVID-19, as well as his supply business as well, which I know a lot of people may know you from in these circles, in
Yeah.
these groups. So let's talk.
Yeah.
How's this impacting your businesses, and what are some things that you're kind of doing to mitigate some of those things?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having the idea of doing this, and I'm with the king of coaching for the industry.
Too kind,
so,
too kind.
that's good, and I really actually. Just real quick, I want to say that I'm actually inspired by seeing some of the things that you're doing and stuff that you've done over the past few years and what you're even doing through this. I'm glad that you're part of the industry and what you're doing here with Conquer and the group that you've put together there. I can't say enough for what I've seen and what I've been able to witness and be a part of with that group. So
Thank you. I
kudos to
appreciate that,
you.
Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're doing that. Um, so some of the stuff that we're seeing that's impacting us is I can talk for speak to the fleet washing side, and we're seeing especially in those that are supplying grocery supplies and stuff with the trucking industry, they're just like crazy busy right now. They can't. The lots are in some cases almost unsafe to be on because they're running the drivers crazy. And I don't know this for a fact, but I have heard that the federal government has lifted the restrictions they put on the drivers so that the drivers can actually work more hours now.
Wow.
So they're going as hard as they can to get food and supplies out to all the grocery stores because of the run on the grocery stores. And so if any kind of food supplier out there is just going as fast as they can.
Hmm.
And so and a lot of transportation industries are considered trucking, which we can talk more in a minute, but they're part of the essential businesses that need to stay open. And then on the kitchen exhaust cleaning service that we provide, we are seeing an impact there where restaurants are having to close down or scale back service. And if they don't have a delivery or a carry out or something like that, they're just completely shutting down. So those services are reaching out to us and close. And some of them even though they do provide that, their business is being impacted dramatically,
Mm.
in some cases all the way up to 70% of lack of business. So, you can imagine how impactful that could be on a company like that and how they're even going to survive. And that industry, the restaurant industry, really operates on some very thin margins. So some of these larger chains and stuff don't have, I don't believe, at least they don't have the reserves to be able to stick through this if they don't have some kind of government support to make it through.
Right. Well, it's interesting because both of the industries that you kind of service in those, I've seen that some restaurants are getting hit really hard, and then other
Yeah.
restaurants, uh, they're the ones that have pivoted to delivery services
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Right.
are actually busier than ever. I mean, I know for me,
Uh,
like, my wife's tired of cooking already. We've only been quarantined just like a week, and she's already like, we got to get something delivered. So,
yes.
I'm finding that some restaurants are closed down and other restaurants are busier than ever because of
Yeah.
that. So I think that it's interesting to kind of see the trickle down.
I think you hit it spot on because if they're already set up for delivery and they've got a drive through, I think they're in a good position and they probably will see an increase in business. But I think a lot of that it's going to depend on what restrictions are within the area. Like if you're bound, like California, where they're bound to stay at home, then they may not be able to get out and go to those restaurants at all.
Right. Right.
So it depends on the area, and that's going to be kind of localized. So that's going to hurt. Now, of course, a lot of people know me as Powerwash.com and see me there, as you said earlier. So we're seeing us. It's hard to say right now because the orders and things that have been coming in here have just been as normal until the last 2 days. But generally Thursday and Fridays are slow days for us anyway. So it's hard for me to say, because we sell so much nationally, if we're going to see an impact going forward
Well,
with
it's
that.
interesting because I think that the opportunity that's here for the cleaning industry specifically
Exactly.
is massive because A,
Yes.
we're going into the spring season, and B, there's a virus out there that we actually know how to clean exterior wise.
Yeah.
Like we do it every day. I feel like our calling has just kind of been laid in our lap as far as like, hey, that chemical that you've been using that everyone kind of has to whisper and kind of be more concerned. People are like,
Right.
you're going to use bleach? Are you going to kill
Yeah.
everything? What are we
Right.
going to do? So I think that if anything, after we kind of get through this curve and have this impact of maybe possibly having to shut down for a week or two or longer, to be able to kind of get it through that, the companies that are really strategic about how they're communicating with their employees, how they're communicating with their clients, how they're communicating with their community, I think are going to be the ones that will survive any potential shutdown for a small period of time or longer
Yeah.
period of time, and then be equipped to be able to serve once the gates get opened up. And it's one
Yes.
thing that I've been talking to a lot of people about is, the analogy of the two farmers that pray for rain. Both of them want the rains to come, but only one ends up planting the seed out in the crops. So when
Yeah.
the rains actually do come, who's the one that's yielding the bounty? It's the guy who actually did the action and was prepared for it, as opposed to the guys like, well, I'll just wait and see if it rains.
That's beautiful. I love that analogy.
Let's just wait. We'll just
Yeah.
wait. I'm praying for it, but let's just wait to see what happens. And I've seen that in some of these
Yes.
Facebook groups and some of these forums and things where people are saying, I'm not spending any money on marketing. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to wait and see what
No.
happens.
Yeah.
It's like now's the time to be proactive to understand what the rush is going to look like. I mean, there's articles right now of people saying that there's some agencies that are genuinely concerned there won't be enough skilled, trained workers to be able to handle the cleanup work that's going to be afterwards. Have
Yeah.
you seen some of these posts in Holland where they're spraying foaming disinfecting agents on the streets and like scrubbing down the streets?
No, I have not seen those.
Amazing thing. We get to like see what's almost what our potential future is going to look like looking at some of these other developed countries. What's going on in Italy and Holland and Europe and these places where they're starting to experience this, these developed countries. Every country is going to have a little bit different of a response to it, of course, and it's not going to be exactly the same. However, it kind of gives us a sneak peek into what's going to happen here and what things we
Yeah.
should be prepared for and capitalize on it. And this big cleanup work that's going to happen afterwards, I think it's going to catch some people off guard, and then it's going to be a hiring frenzy, and it's going to be a equipment buying frenzy. And I think the smarter ones are preparing themselves now for that.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. So, so I saw, now and if I'm speaking out of turn, tell me, but I saw where y'all had created something to give to the Conquer groups for they
Yeah.
could share with their employees and stuff. I think that's right, or within their business.
Yeah, and actually that's a free resource that we made for everybody. So
Okay.
it's if you want it and you're watching this or listening to this and you haven't gotten it yet, just if you're in the US, just text the words conquer COVID, all one word, to the number 44222, and that will automatically get it emailed to you. It's a 24-page document that we put together for service business owners, and it's mostly geared towards the cleaning industry, but it's really applicable to everyone, just with some tools and tips. And the crazy thing is already in just a couple of days, we're already having to go in and change some of the language and some of the things because things are happening on a daily basis that are changing. What relief options are available from the government. So everything is changing on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I'm going, I don't know how much what I'm doing is going to overlap what you guys done, but we were sharing the recommended guidelines with all our employees this morning with our techs, and we are going to put some Power Wash University documents out and just post them up social media and let people have them, that kind of stuff.
Good.
And one of them just going through all the safe practices you need to have, because we're letting them know that as a business, we're trying to do everything we can to keep them employed through this. We may have to cut back hours. We may have to shift some schedules around and things like that. But the last thing I want to do is lay anybody off. I want to keep them employed
Right.
and assure them that, this is going to pass. It's not going to last forever. And, our intent is to be able to make it through and be on the back end of it when things take off again, so that we can grow and be a viable company. But first we got to get through this phase.
Right.
And most important for my staff to understand and know is that this is going to pass, that it's not going to last forever, and that maybe they will have a vaccine for it, or they have some kind of treatment for it. But we just got to stay level-headed and stay calm, and not just and not keep hitting that panic button and freak everybody out. I think
Right.
that's probably one of the most important things that we can do. And I saw that you did a video, and I was one of the unfortunate ones that didn't listen all the way through it, but you kind of started off that without, you know, as leaders, we're there to lead our tribe and to lead our families and lead our workers. And I thought those were such words of wisdom that that everyone should be hearing, especially as business owners.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that leadership calling that we have as business owners and business leaders in our own community, the tribe of employees, customers, ones in our community, really
Yeah.
freaked out. And I don't know
Yes.
if you've experienced this too, but have you ever noticed that when you come into work and your anxiety levels are really high and you're like pacing around,
Oh yeah.
everyone's agitated?
Everyone. Yes.
And so, like, it's also really important as business leaders because, the expression heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yep.
All of us as CEOs, we wear that crown and it gets
Yep.
heavy sometimes. And we got to put on that face of confidence and, and rational decision making. And it can really burn out a CEO,
Yes.
especially if you don't have an outlet, a community, someone that you can talk to about some of these challenges and some of these problems. So, if you guys are watching this now and you haven't taken the time to recharge your own batteries and unplug,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you're doing some of those things, like, please do that. Please unplug and recharge and tap into others that you can talk about these problems with.
Just, and I don't want to digress too much, but just from a personal level, it the last and I know you've had, and you shared a story about your brother in that, and that was about, once I heard that then I got pulled away from my computer. I couldn't listen to the rest of your what, but I don't have a story to that level. But I think the last 10 years of things that I've been through with my company and some of my personal life and through that had just been constant. So when this situation came around, I don't have an extreme anxiety level. I've kind of learned how to push that to the back, and I maybe pushing to the back is probably not the right word, because I'm not really suppressing any emotion. I'm just like, I've learned that every day is going to have a challenge. The sun is going to continue to rise every day. It's going to go down. Every day is going to keep happening. The most important thing we can do is keep moving forward and try to find ways to get over the obstacles that are presented in front of us. How to find ways to create solutions and to create a a following. That's probably not the right word, but to to learn to use all of our abilities in the best possible way that we can to overcome the challenges in front of us. That's what I want to say.
And yeah, and I think that the people who are proactive and they're looking to serve the community and looking to be that leader in the space of, with their own customers, their own clients, showing them that they take their customers' fears and concerns seriously, even if they're not using your business right now.
Mhm.
How much goodwill is that bringing? Like, I've been really proud of a lot of people who've been going out there and donating services to certain facilities and certain schools and offering sanitizing services because, granted, there are people that are doing it just for the PR, but reciprocity is something that's going to happen. period.
Yeah.
It just does. And even if you get no jobs from those free playground cleanings or from those free, things that you're going out and doing, even if you get zero jobs from it in the moment, you're doing the right thing by
Yeah.
serving your community. We're
Couldn't agree
empowered to
more.
be able to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that reciprocity inevitably comes back. Zig Ziglar says you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what it is that they want,
Yeah.
which also is a
Those
Bible
are great
principle.
words.
So,
Yeah.
it's like that very thing of serving others first is what I think those are going to be the people that end up making through these challenges
Yeah.
and have a bigger demand later.
So some of the things, and I'll just share, because we shared out a list. My last, was it Watchaholic Wednesday that I did? Yeah, where I said type list in the comments, and we'll send you a list of ideas that we said. And we just sat down with our team and just created a list of ideas of things, of services that could go out to do sanitization or whatnot, and that could serve the community or create a service for that. We just saw where there's a lot of public activity that let's just use the restaurants, for instance. When they open back up or want to open back up, I think there's going to be a need for those restaurants to say that we've been sanitized, we've been cleaned, we've been disinfected. So that was what that list was created to do, so people could start looking at. And even in the meantime, if they are still open, that they could say that this playground's been disinfected. You can go back out there. And there's probably going to be a need for that service on a repetitive basis for a time being until we become comfortable with how to control this virus.
Yeah, agreed. That's a great point. That's an awesome
So,
point.
so we had put that out there. Now, then we found, and I'm always listening, and this is going to sound self-serving, so I apologize for that. But we have a product called MaxQuat, and if you can find something other than just bleach that no one else can get, or I shouldn't say no one, because anybody else could probably, I mean, if you're a big enough buyer, you could probably get MaxQuat too. But it just creates, because I've always heard this from a marketing perspective, if you can have products or have service you can provide that are fairly unique, use those. So that's why we're kind of pushing the MaxQuat angle. And there's other quaternaries out there. So just, I want to put that out there too, because I am saying this to help everybody. But if you can find disinfectants that aren't like off the shelf that everyone can grab, like bleach, then you have the opportunity to create something that's probably not as aggressive but can still kill. Well, I want to be careful about how I use those words, because I understand the legal ramifications behind it now.
This
So
is a good lesson for anyone watching this.
yes,
Make sure that you don't have too far-fetched claims with some of these things.
right, yeah, you
Yeah,
want
it's
to be very
improved.
careful.
Quaternaries are an improved disinfectant
Yes,
listed on the CDC's website for disinfecting,
right,
along with sodium hypochlorite and other chemicals. So yeah,
yeah,
I think that's he who markets is the one who's going to win. He who markets
yeah. No, I
best.
agree. And
So having that competitive differentiator, something that kind of sets you apart.
yeah, get that message out there. And so we're having to be careful. Like, we're trying to use terminology like the quaternaries that are proven to kill coronavirus strains. Now, can we say 100% on COVID-19?
Right.
Not necessarily, because they haven't been tested enough. So we don't know.
Yeah, sure. So, is there anything specific that you're doing with your employees or your team members and kind of communicating things and dispelling that? Like, have you bumped up your number of team meetings that you're having, or are there certain guidelines that you're doing as a CEO, business owner perspective to make sure that your employees are feeling a little more comfortable with what's going on?
Yeah, so I don't always attend all our team meetings, but I did. We just actually had them today. So I was in all those meetings, and I reassured everyone, and I told them where we were going. Now, for our truck washing side, we don't foresee a a problem coming about there, because there's so much activity going on around the transportation industry right now. But we have had a very small amount of customers pull back, but because of the other growth, and so we don't see any kind of issues there. Now, on the kitchen exhaust cleaning side, yeah, we had to inform them that we think we're going to be cutting back. But I think even though we're going to be pulling back, I think the transparency gives them reassurance, and and letting them know of our efforts and my efforts to do everything we can to keep them employed uh, goes a long ways
Mhm.
in reassuring them that they're working for a good company and that there's good leadership in place to do this.
Man, that's
And
so good. Yeah.
yeah,
Because there's those two ends of the spectrum. There's the one end of the spectrum where you don't say anything and you're
yes,
like, well, just wait and see. That
yep,
causes people to freak out and panic. And then
yep.
you can communicate like way too much detail and fear and panic on what you're, thinking maybe deep down. That will instill a lot of fear
Well,
and panic with people too.
I will tell them as well. So in the manager meetings, we do go into a lot more detail,
Mhm.
and but I make it very clear that there are things that we say there that we're not going to put out to all the staff, right? Because some of the stuff is conjecture or it's things you hear in the press and it's rumor and you don't really know. And if you really take that as fact, then that can freak people out. And then you get into these conversations in a large group setting that can go very unproductive fast.
Mhm.
So I'm careful about what we do say, but at the same time, it's extremely important to communicate and have feedback in those meetings and reassure people. Otherwise, they, like you said, there's the two ends of the spectrum. It can get crazy fast.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
hey, thanks for hopping on here and
Yeah.
getting an opportunity to kind of chat for a little bit. Just want to reach out to anyone that may watch this video. Reach out to either Michael or myself if you're
Yeah.
going through some struggles or some problems in your service business, or even if you're just freaked out.
Yeah.
We are, especially here, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, Michael, is that Michael's one of those guys who just really genuinely cares about this industry. He's been around it for a long time, second generation
Yeah.
in the industry, leader, and appreciate you taking the time to kind of get together and chat for a little bit.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys. And I would say follow Brandon, follow me, because we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep sharing materials that can help you in your business. And that's what we want to do. We want to see everybody get through this and get to the other side and have a successful business at the end of it, to be able to, at least for me, and I know you believe this too, but at least for me, I want to see everyone get through it
Hmm.
and continue to support your family and those that work for you. That to me is probably, as you said earlier, that's that crown that
Yeah, that's
I feel
right.
the burden from. And and you I'm going to digress just a little bit because I think it's important. I think the thing that sometimes people on the outside don't get about business owners is that we do care, and we care a lot,
Hmm.
especially about our employees. And sometimes people look upon us like, oh, you're doing that for the dollar, you're doing that to get ahead. Um, that is, I think that's a byproduct of what we do. It's not the entire reason we do it. And being able to accomplish and help others means a lot. And if you're not in it for those reasons, it comes through, and people, you won't be able to create a tribe or a following if that's where your heart is.
That's right. All money
Yeah.
is a direct result from value creation.
Yeah.
And you can create fake value that looks like it's value from the outside, but then when people receive your value and they realize it's not real value, then the money goes away too. So
Yeah, no, very true.
yeah, so I think as long as everyone focuses on adding real value, solving real problems, being transparent and truthful with those with whether or not it's actually a valuable service or a valuable, something that you're providing, then I don't think you need to be so obsessed about whether or not the money's going to be there, because it will be. And
Yeah.
especially, I think we're in an industry right now to where people don't just have to think about whether or not they're going to survive. They can actually think about thriving in this, because I think it's an incredible opportunity and
Yeah.
there's a lot of silver lining to this, for our industry, whereas we have a tendency to really focus on the negative side, which
Yeah.
there are negative impacts that we will weather and we will feel the impacts to, but it's temporary, right?
Yeah.
Temporary, and it's only here for a short time. So, hey, thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate everything that you're doing to provide and serve the people here that are watching this video, and just your tribe as well. Nice
Yeah.
hanging out with you as always.
Yeah, you too. You too, Brandon.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Take care.